Shalom Akim. First foremost, give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachal Kodash, double honors under the Elders Apostle Green Millstone, the Elders Green Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect, the sincere servants of Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, serving in truth and sincerity. Yes, on the brother Chayab from G-Men's Plain Tables Camp, come back with another lesson to his spirit. Yes, this lesson be based off of this article from the Guardian.com, which is entitled, it says, Trump's calls to seize Greenland ignite fresh criticism from Republican Party. And they, as we know, there's been a lot of news on Trump trying to seize Greenland. Well, basically they just took over Venezuela, captured Maduro, and now they want to take over Greenland. And then it goes to show you that, again, that the king of Babylon, of course, scriptures going to the king of Babylon. And what the king of Babylon, as we can see right here, is Trump. Currently, the king of Babylon is Trump. Also, what the scriptures going to, the cruel Lord and the fierce king, how there's going to be a cruel Lord and a fierce king ruling in Isaiah chapter 19. Without a doubt, Trump fits those descriptions. Get real quick, Isaiah 19 and 4, it says, And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts. Exactly. So we know the modern day Egyptians is, of course, America. The modern day Egypt is America. Scriptures going to, or what basically speak about Egypt, Babylon, Sodom in a prophetic sense. Whenever the scriptures are referring onto a prophecy concerning Babylon, Egypt, or Sodom that hasn't happened yet, really it is referring on to, ultimately is referring onto the future, which, we are in the future. The scriptures describe, of course, Babylon the Great within Revelation to be spiritually Sodom in Egypt. So we know, of course, we're in the modern day Egypt. So no, this isn't talking about ancient Egypt. This is talking about modern day Egypt, which is America. Same works as Egypt. It's just, again, a new name and new time period that we're in. So it says, And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts. Yeah, without a doubt, that fits Trump. We'll use the article a little bit. It says, Donald Trump's escalating calls for the United States to seize or otherwise obtain Greenland has ignited fresh criticism from the president's own Republican Party, with some saying it could hurt the U.S. economically or strain the NATO military alliance. It says such Republicans included U.S. Senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski. It says we're a part of bipartisan group to travel to Denmark to discuss concerns in Greenland and autonomous Danish territory. It says both Tillis and Murkowski sharply criticized new tariffs threatened on Saturday by Trump on a slew of European countries, including Denmark, Germany, France, and the UK, until the U.S. is allowed to purchase Greenland. It says Murkowski wrote on X that the tariffs were unnecessary, punitive, and a profound mistake, coming after NATO allies deployed troops in Greenland on Thursday in response to Trump's threats to forcibly take the Arctic island if needed. It says they will push our core European allies further away while doing nothing to advance U.S. national security, Murkowski maintained. We are already seeing the consequences of these measures in real time. Our NATO allies are being forced to divert attention and resources to Greenland. It says a dynamic that plays directly into Russian leader Vladimir Putin's hands by threatening the stability of the strongest coalition of democracies the world has ever seen. And so you can keep on reading. Yes, also says it hurts the legacy of President Donald Trump. Or it says Tillis added that actively pushing for coercive action to seize territory of an ally is beyond stupid. And again, so linking up to the prophecy that the king of Babylon, without a doubt, is working. The cruel Lord and the fierce king is working. When you get that word for cruel within Hebrew word is kwasha, meaning hard, cruel, severe, obstinate. It says difficult, severe, intense, vehement. Stubborn, stiff-necked. It says rigorous battle. Yeah. It says for fierce. Hebrew word is eyes, meaning strong, mighty, fierce. And so it also says greedy, mighty, power. It says greedy, mighty, power. So there you have it. And it also says harsh. And what those descriptions are of course, fit Trump. So and of course, at the end of the day, we understand it's just a show. At the end of the day, we understand that there are people at the top hidden that you can't see that are basically orchestrating these things, the elites. But it's still linking up the prophecy. It doesn't matter who's behind it. The point is that there's a fierce king and a cruel lord, in of course, in rulership. And he's doing his job, as scriptures say. And we just seen, of course, the recent news of Trump taking Venezuela. As the scriptures go into Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5. It says, also, or let's start at verse 4. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. Speaking about Esau. Esau's soul is not upright in him. When you get the word for upright within the Hebrew word is yashar, meaning to be right, straight, be level, be upright, be just, be lawful, be smooth. Exactly. So all of that is the complete opposite of Esau. Esau is set up to be literally hardwired to be perverse, to be wicked, to be completely off. Jacob was set up to be, of course, as scriptures go into a plain man. That word for plain. When you get that word for plain within the Hebrew, or Jacob was a plain man. Genesis 25 and 27, it says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, and man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. Cunning, meaning Hebrew word, of course, being yadai, meaning to know, to perceive and see, find out, discern. That's Esau's spirit. Hunter. Tazayad, meaning, of course, so what? Esau is a cunning hunter, and that fits the spirit of Esau. And it says for Jacob, thumb, or of course, the Hebrew word being thumb for plain, meaning it says perfect, complete. Complete, perfect. It says complete, morally innocent, having integrity. Sound, wholesome. It says one who is morally and ethically pure. See? So that describes Jacob. And ultimately our people have, of course, integrity and of course, a consciousness. Esau doesn't have any of those. As scriptures say, of course, what the Most High is in their thoughts at all. So hey, again, so going back, it says Habakkuk 2:4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And ultimately the just going into, of course, the just going into the elect of the nation of Israel, which, us brothers, we were part of that hopeful elect, hoping that we're of course part of that remnant. Of course, but without a doubt, we are living by our faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And of course, we pray unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai that He has mercy upon us, and that, of course, we endure unto the end with His protection, of course, around us. It says, verse 5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Yeah, literally speaking about Esau. So he transgresseth by wine, meaning what his philosophies, his agendas. We see all the wicked agendas that he pushes around the earth. And of course, what Esau Edom being a so-called white man, but without a doubt, he's that man. But ultimately, he's that guy doing that. As scriptures say, Joel chapter 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So the sons of the wicked are Esau, or is Esau. It says, because he transgresseth by wine, meaning what his philosophies, his agendas. We see, the alphabet community. We see the way that he runs the society. Of course, infrastructure that pollutes the earth. The way, again, he runs society, which is detrimental onto the earth. Again, he's pushed his ways amongst these other nations. And, these other nations are following suit after Esau. With that's leading, that's again detrimental onto the earth, and ultimately, of course, onto the people. First and foremost, onto our people, because they direct these things. First and foremost, onto our people. The wicked plots and schemes, of course. As the scriptures say, Psalm chapter 83, what they plan, or what, ultimately they're confederate with one another against the nation of Israel. So literally, everything that they plan is set up first and foremost against our people. Because what they want to do away with our people. Knowing that, again, the Israelites are next to rule according to prophecy. So even though they keep their plans hidden, first and foremost, what they're after our people. So what so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, and those who have been scattered amongst the other nations. Of course, of our people. It says, verse 5 again, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine. He's a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So he neither keepeth at home. Meaning, again, he can't just stay in his own land. He has to go constantly, go and conquer. It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, because everywhere he goes, death follows. Ultimately, a great literal example of that is when Esau came onto the Americas, completely destroying the so-called Native Americans, Latinos. Literally, he came with diseases, and he of course came with ultimately swords and weapons, to slaughter the so-called Native Americans, Latinos, going into the northern kingdom of the nation of Israel. Northern kingdom nation of Israel, of course, consisting of the so-called Native Americans, Latinos. So again, in all ways, mentally, spiritually, physically, again, Esau, ultimately, wherever he goes, death follows. But Esau can't take the elect of the nation of Israel. Why? Because the Lord has a hedge around them. It says, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So yeah, he can't be satisfied. He has to go everywhere, and Trump is showing that spirit of Esau. What ultimately he cannot be satisfied. They got to go. It's not enough that they have the U.S. A massive land that they already stole from the so-called Native Americans, Latinos, using what the so-called Negroes, of course, being the Southern Kingdom of the nation of Israel, to build this land up, and ultimately all, or both the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom, so-called blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, have been slaves to build up, again, this nation. And, as scriptures go into, it wasn't, of course, only just America, but as scriptures are also going to, of course, our people were sent as gifts among these other nations, going into the transatlantic slave trade. So, again, ultimately, our people have helped to build up Esau's world, including, these other nations. These other nations, of course, being a part of Esau's world. So yeah, again, Trump is embodying that spirit of Esau. He neither keepeth at home. Wherever he goes, he brings death. They're never satisfied. What they got to keep on robbing and stealing. It says Habakkuk chapter 2 and 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Thick clay, being the Hebrew word ibatiat. Ibatiat meaning debt. Ultimately going into heavy debt. We know America is a nation loaded with debt. Of course, great in debt. It says, verse 7, shall not they rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be booties unto them. Yeah, so ultimately, it's set up where this place is going to be destroyed. These other nations will make an alliance with one another to take down Babylon the Great. We know Russia and China are going to be the big superpowers, basically at the top basically they're going to be the top nations within that alliance. So all these other nations are going to make an alliance with one another to take down this place. So Trump is simply speeding up that prophecy. But Yahweh Artazah, that Trump is at this point, we can 100% see that this guy can be the last president of course, the United States, leading it onto its ruin, which is going to be World War III, and within the climax of World War III, this place is going to be destroyed. So Trump is simply speeding that up in Yahweh Artazah, that he's a final president, because we know once this place is destroyed, or as this place is being destroyed, of course, Yahushua is coming back, or Yahushua will come back to deliver his elect of the nation of Israel, from this place, which his brothers ought to be a part of. Because it's prophesied that this place is going to be destroyed, but it's also prophesied that the elect of the nation of Israel will be delivered from that destruction. So that's, this is what we're looking for. Until, again, all these things must come to pass in order for Yahushua to come back to deliver his elect and establish his righteous rulership upon the planet earth, his righteous kingdom. Which is going to be him conquering all the nations, and him setting up the nation of Israel over all the nations, starting, of course, with the elect of the nation of Israel. So again, this is what we're looking for, and ultimately we're just waiting for these prophecies to come to pass. By the scriptures say, the Lord shortened the days for the elect's sake, and Esau knows better; he hath put a short time. That's why he's moving with great wrath. So, ultimately, Yahweh Bashim Yashai, again, is showing these prophecies, showing, these days for the elect's sake, putting the spear on Esau to move even quicker with his agenda, knowing that he had to put a short time. So I believe it's a point Lord as well, you brothers out there edified. Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, Bashim Kakorash Brakatham. Shalom.